Hey, it's Brock here with Rock Hill Farms, and I'm out here at Jensen Tractor and Equipment today, and I came to look at Yanmar tractors. But as I was pulling into the lot, they've got a huge lot with a lot of different types of equipment. First thing that caught my eye was this skid steer. As I'm driving past it, I'm like, man, that is a tiny little compact track loader. I call it a skid steer. The technical name is compact track loader. And I was thinking, compared to mine, that looks like a toy. That must be like the smallest one they make. Come to find out, this is a 65 horse, 8,000 pound machine. Mine's a 75 horse, 10,000 pound machine. But sitting right next to this one is a 332, which has the same horsepower as mine and weighs about the same amount. It's just a lot smaller. It's a lot narrower. It's shorter. It's not as long. Everything about it is compressed. And I find that to be really interesting. So I'm going to give you a quick recap of my buying decision on a skid steer. I wanted the most powerful machine I could get that didn't require DEF and that I could haul on my trailer. That meant 75 horsepower, 10,000 pounds. And I looked at New Holland. I looked at every brand, but nothing about New Holland stood out to me as being better or worse than the other brands I gave serious consideration to. So I just went to a dealer I knew. Driving this one today and talking to the dealer and just checking it all out, I think this could be a game changer for someone like myself shopping for a skid steer. These models, the 330, the 332, that line is a new offering from New Holland, and a big part of the redesign is making them smaller without taking away their capability. And when I bought mine, I'm like, who cares how big it is? It's still small. You know, compared to like a big ag tractor you would need to lift the same amount of weight, you know, the track loader is a lot smaller. Well, come to find out, it does matter. I took my skid loader to a professional landscaper who runs a Bobcat skid loader and asked him to review it and ask how he liked it and everything. He said he mostly liked it, but he didn't like how long it was. That extra length and width on the tail can take away from your ability to get into certain tight spaces. So that got me thinking about it, and now I run the mini skid steer. So I can definitely see an advantage to a smaller machine. But I'm not just interested in this because of the fact it's smaller. There's some other things I really like. Let's come over here and take a look. Now on my John Deere, to get in it, I can't just step right up. The whole thing just sets higher. And so I end up grabbing a handle here, and I step onto the track, and then I step over here. But on this machine, this opening and this step are lower, and it's very easy to just step right up. If you're in and out of your machine a lot, that matters throughout the day. Next thing I noticed, it says Super Boom. Like, you can put a sticker on anything that says Super on it. Super loaders, super tractors. It doesn't mean anything, so I looked it up. What's a Super Boom? Well, you're getting about the same lift height, maybe a little bit more than a previous model. But if you think about a boom on a skid steer, there's two types. Radial lift, that as it comes up, it also comes back. The vertical lift that comes straight up. The explanation I saw in another video is that this Super Boom actually moves forward just slightly as you get to the top, which matters because my tracks are bumping up against the tires on whatever I'm loading. Let's look at that from a size perspective. If I'm loading with my skid steer, my tracks come out further past the front of the machine. And to load my dump trailer, I have to have the front of my tracks within a half an inch of the tires on the dump trailer to be able to get it to load over. So I don't know how people did it with a radial lift machine, but this is going to stick out further from your machine and be easier to load with. I got the wider tracks on mine, but my machine is, I believe, 74 or 76 inches wide. This machine is 65 inches wide. So if you're in tight spaces, that's going to matter. It also can matter for how you're hauling stuff on a trailer if you're trying to take multiple attachments with you. That smaller machine can help you out. So I'm asking some questions. I sat in it, checked out all the controls. I said, okay, they've made their machine smaller, so they've reduced the capabilities. If they have, it's not much. This has a 6,000 pound tip capacity, and mine is 7,400. But this is one size smaller machine. The 332, the difference in lift capacity is negligible between this smaller machine and mine. All right, so if they take the machine and they put the same amount of weight and the same amount of power in it, but they make it smaller, it's going to be too compact and you're not going to be able to access anything. Let's find out. Air filter's easy to get to. Diesel is easy to get to. Radiator is easy to get to. This would be the hydraulic fill, very easy to access. Hydraulic filter, easy access. As I tell you, I guess I could show you too. Nothing here is hard to get to. My hydraulic fill is actually a lot harder to get to than this. I almost need a special funnel for it. It looks like to get to the battery, you have to pull a couple of bolts off of a side panel, but nothing worth complaining about. So man, they have really crammed everything in here with still giving you access. Your engine oil fill is right there. Fuel filter right here. I don't have to remove anything or get under it to get to that fuel filter. There's a second fuel filter all the way out here on this door. They've got a much nicer design on their backup camera than mine has. I think Deere may have came out with one of these that's rear mounted, but mine is actually up on top here and I've relocated it further up. But my boom blocks my visibility on my backup camera sometimes. The ones that are right here can get hit. This is a heavy duty back gate and it's protecting that camera by sticking out about 4 inches further. So now I'm going to jump in the machine, talk about the operator station a little bit. All right, so from inside the cab, the first thing I notice is it feels like I'm sitting up higher. That doesn't seem like it makes sense. The machine is shorter and smaller, but the step is lower, and it's like my visibility down here is even better than my machine, which is already pretty good. The all-around visibility is better than my machine. You're always going to be blocked to some extent, but right here, I can see grass down here. That's probably not happening on my machine. Visibility here. Visibility to turn and look behind me is definitively better than it is on my machine. This is obstructed by the boom and some other frame, and even just the back of the machine is up here and blocking a lot of my sight. So if my backup camera is dirty, I can't see what's behind me. You know, we've always got this mirror up here, but what I can see out of that mirror and what I can see by turning around is much better than it is on my Deere. Now, a couple things about this. The feel of it down here is all analog and kind of simple compared to mine, like these manual switches. So we're going to start it up and turn that on. Push to operate removes the emergency brake. Then your heat and cool, all those controls are here. AC, windshield wiper. This would probably control either the bounce control or the auto leveling, not sure. Okay, down here we've got turtle and rabbit. Then these would be auxiliary functions for the auxiliary hydraulics. I have not figured out what all the controls are, but you have a lot of options. This is gonna, run a grapple, anything that is intermittent flow. And then your other controls are gonna be more for continuous flow. This looks like it takes the bounce out of your bucket. I've already found out that your float function is on this trigger here. It's a smaller machine, but the side window is a lot bigger. I really think they did some funny things with geometry to make this work like it is. Now, I will say, I don't feel cramped in here, but the cab is not nearly as wide as mine. it's a narrow machine, so that's the trade-off. All right, let's move some dirt with it. One issue I have with my John Deere is it feels like I have some power loss when I'm trying to turn and move the boom at the same time. To me, it doesn't feel like it should be that way, but as a first-time skid steer owner, I've never noticed that in any of the other machines that I've driven on other people's property or rented machines. I've only noticed it on my own. So I don't know for sure if that's normal or not. We're gonna see if this machine has that problem. So my impressions of this was that it was more responsive than mine. A little bit quicker to change directions, although it felt like the boom went up and down a little bit slower maybe. I think it's fun to operate. I like the control setup. I really don't have much negative to say about it. Felt like it had a little bit harder time pushing into that material than I was hoping for, but it's a smaller machine, less surface area on the tracks, and it's actually 10 less horsepower than mine, so that's to be expected. I've never got in a skid loader and say, oh, I hate this machine, but I really do like what this one has to offer. So I'd say if you're in the market for a skid steer or a compact track loader, don't drive by the New Holland lot without taking a look. I think I've driven a lot of brands. I've priced different brands. I think this one here is worth a look. Anyway, I appreciate you taking time to watch the video. I'll put links on the screen to a couple more of our videos, and I'll see you next time.